and ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Mr. Terrebonne, Mrs. Dussault,
Here.
Ms. Schwartz, Mr. Runge,
Present.
Crisafulli, Mr. Downey, Chairman Zimmerman.
Here, thank you. It appears to me we do not have a quorum this morning.
Three's quorum.
We do have a quorum? Three is a quorum?
Yep. Marilyn's sitting in as a full member.
Oh, well, okay. All right. Well, not going to argue. If it's a quorum, it's a quorum. That's good. Before we move into today's agenda, I wanted to share a couple of things with you. First thing is we've had two former members of the Tree Commission who've passed away since we had our last meeting, and I just want to mention those and put the information so it's part of the record today, and then I'm going to ask for a moment of silence in their memory. Roger Nietzsche passed away on July 10th, and Roger served from April of 82 until November of 83, and he was actually the chairman when I joined the Tree Commission. And secondly, Phil Russo served on our board, and he passed away on the 23rd of June, and he served on the Tree Commission from March 20th of 01 until January 26th of 2011, and Phil was the vice chairman and was very active in helping us move forward. And there's some funny stories about Phil and I handing out leaflets at the Women's Club Garden Fest Day because we were having a seedling sale on the next weekend. And the women came charging across the street and told us to leave. And Phil and I both looked at them and said, gee, I think we're on public property and we will stay right here and we will hand out leaflets. So Phil and I stood our ground and handed out our leaflets. That was back in the day when we used to have seedling sales to raise funds to operate with before we had the luxury of the benefit of the fines for various improprieties relative to trees that we now use for planting. So if we could just have a moment of silence, please. Thank you. First item on the agenda this morning is the approval of the May 15th minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? If not, Chair would appreciate a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The minutes are approved unanimously today. Thank you. I appreciate that. Now let me see what we have here. Oh. You each received a copy of this, I guess, and that's a thank you note from Barbara Cunningham for the accolades and the recognition of her years served on the Tree Commission. So we're pleased that is the case. So we thank you for that. Here is some information. Was this shared with the other? It was. Okay, great. So you folks have had a chance to see the information on Roger and Phil. All right, audience participation. We only have our perennial audience, our staff members who are with us this morning. Bright, shining, smiling faces.
Are we really your audience?
No, but you're as close to an audience as we have. No, you're definitely part of the proceedings.
Because I've never clapped.
Well, I would certainly hope not. That would not necessarily be an expression of your feelings at any particular time on an every meeting basis, I'm sure. But after the meeting, is that what she's saying? Okay. Moving ahead, since we have no audience participation, under old business, we have the Vero Beach Beautification Day proposal and ideas. And Chris, if you'd like to elaborate, if you've given this any more thought.
I did, and you have in your minutes an email from me proposing that the annual City of Vero Beach Tree and Beautification Day be on the second Saturday during the month of February annually, as opposed to picking a date which might occur in the middle of the week. This puts it during season at a cool point in the year and just before spring. I think that you could pose reasons why not to have it on that date. There are a lot of events that take place in Vero Beach pretty much every day during season, but this gives us an opportunity to start working towards finalizing this.
Did you, as a follow-up to that, because I just thought about it when you mentioned it, did you have a chance to check the calendar to see if that is?
No, I didn't. That's just the date that came to mind, that came to heart, and said, like I said, you could pick the first Saturday, there's going to be something going on. There's going to be something going on the third Saturday, on the fourth. It's season.
Well,
something pretty much happens every weekend.
Yes, and I'm certainly aware of that. I think if that's the date we finally recommend and the city council adopts that, then we want to make sure it gets on the calendar for the Cultural Council, who
of course
is the one who maintains that calendar for most of the events. The idea of at least putting people on notice. Again, since it's not a central event to draw people, but an event to get participation of people doing their own projects.
To inspire people.
Yeah, it really doesn't compete in that sense, because if something's happening in the evening and people are motivated to do some improvements, clearing whatever in their own neighborhood and their own property, they can schedule that whenever they like. So from that point of view, any discussion about the recommendation on the date?
Well, I think that doing it in season makes far more sense. I also think that pushing it out that far gives us the opportunity to really do some more planning, as opposed to, from what I read of the minutes for the meeting I didn't attend, we'd be pressured to get something really organized. And as far as second Saturday, third Saturday, I have to agree with Chris. It doesn't matter whatever date we pick, because first of all, it's a daytime event. So it's you're not going to be mowing your lawn at 9 o'clock at night. I think it's a really good idea, and I think that it is to inspire people to participate.
Yeah, and it could be as much as they pick up the palm fronds in their yard.
Exactly.
They mow the grass, they plant a few flowers, whatever it is. It's taking that first step and taking pride in their property.
Yeah, and I would agree with the comments that have been made that, almost any date you can there are pros and cons to any date.
Of course.
So, but the fact of using it as a specific time of the month rather than a date, I think, is helpful, because it indicates a weekend, and we might even identify it as the weekend, because there are some people who might be working on Saturday who might be motivated to work on Sunday, Chris,
Agreed.
Sure.
So, and it gives an opportunity for a longer period of time to accomplish. It could be that weekend for...
I think that's a great idea, because there are going to be people who perhaps work on Saturday but not Sunday, or work on Sunday but not
Or they've
Saturday.
got commitments doing something else on
Exactly.
one of the
Yeah.
days, and it
Right.
gives them a weekend to.
Right.
Yeah, and you might find that, because usually the city picks up yard debris on Wednesdays. So you could say from sunrise Saturday through sunset Tuesday, so that all debris would be at the edge of the street, because the city would be involved in the essence of picking up the debris.
I think we could certainly incorporate that into any announcement we make, but I like the idea of concentrating on this is, beautification weekend. As such,
Right.
Yes, I agree.
with the
I agree.
idea of trying to, otherwise it kind of loses focus, I think.
Right.
And, this is a fledgling idea. I like the idea, as we talked at our last meeting. I think we have to realize that it is difficult to motivate people to do things like this. And that was part of our discussion. And so we probably should not be discouraged if the first year there isn't a lot of participation. But again, it's an idea, just as you said, of trying to direct people's attention and create some interest and some responsibility and some pride in people having in their own properties. And
Couldn't agree more.
yeah. And
But I think that the other aspect of it is yes, we want to inspire, but there's if you will, kind of that beginning of junior high school peer pressure. Gee, my neighbor over here is doing this, and my neighbor over here is doing this, and I'm sitting here with my beer. Maybe I'd better do something as well.
And maybe we can incorporate some of those ideas into whatever kind of public relations campaign or activity we get started, with the idea of trying to make people think from that viewpoint.
Right.
That now there are going to be some people that are motivated, and there's a group of people who won't be motivated.
Right.
But I think that's true of any activity. And maybe even there's an opportunity from the city's point of view to look at some planting activity that the city could do during that week to try and focus attention on it, and try to have that as an example of the city's participation. What do you think about that, ma'am?
Hey, did you say a planting activity?
Yeah, what I'm thinking about is maybe that's a time when you add annuals in some of the parks, or a central location that would have some emphasis that we could focus on and say, here's the city's part of participating in that beautification activity, to call attention to the fact that we're encouraging the city residents to do something in their own yard, whether it's a cleanup project, whether it's the trimming of their palms, whether it's planting, whether it's adding some planters, any kind of thing to help focus. I'm just saying it's kind of a buy-in, that
And I get what you're saying. And I always do have a list of areas that I would like to either revamp, or I don't know. I want to add a lot more, because
No, I understand.
And I will not do annuals, because I don't have the manpower to handle annuals.
Okay.
But from my point of view, every single day, that's all we do is beautification projects. We're out there mowing every day. We're out there trimming every day. We're out there weeding every day. We're out there doing everything to make things look good. We're picking up trash, That's what we do. So
yeah, well, that's your mission. That's why you're there.
To do something extra is to call that out as something beautification. We do beautification every day.
But isn't that the point? Isn't it the point to draw attention? I think there are many residents here who take for granted what you do every day.
I don't know. I don't think so. I think everybody sees what we do. You don't have it out there in public where people are saying, "Oh, you do such a great job," but we get it. We get it told to us.
Okay.
People come up and and I get phone calls. We're not invisible.
Okay.
The guys that are working out in the field, people see what they do, and when they and this time of year when it's really, really, really hard for us to keep up, you see it when we haven't been there yet because the weeds are and the grass is So maybe that's not everybody. Because some people maybe, just think it's an invisible force, but I think a lot of people do realize what the guys do. But certainly, like I said, I always have the short list of areas that I need to, do some tweaking on with shrubs and stuff. During that time of the year is when we're doing our mulching and things, and when I have a little bit more time, because I can pull some of the mowing guys away. Because we don't have to mow quite as exactly. So certainly we can look at something that is on that list to revamp or
and
add
that could be
too.
part of what we include in a news release or something of the sort.
Right.
Just again, what you're trying to do is get a buy-in from a larger number of people, and you're showing that the city itself is trying to make a special effort, and your effort would be during that week. And we hope, as a follow-up, that the citizens' effort would be hopefully that weekend.
Right.
Yeah,
obviously, we can't do it on the weekend. Yeah.
Maybe we could take the word extra out of the sentence and use the word highlight. Not that you're going to plan an extra activity, but you would simply highlight an existing activity. Example being, I used to work in a gated community for a lot of years, and we would, at the height of season, highlight an activity highly visible, where the residents would see the entire crew working as a team. When they were done, it would go into the newsletter, and the team would actually go out and sign the project with grease crayons. And it created a huge sense of value for the employees, a sense of belonging, and the community saw the employees working as one towards one goal. So you don't have to do something more, just pick one thing and highlight it.
Again, just some thoughts for us to be thinking about as we move forward. If everybody is happy with that date selection, then I would ask for a motion to confirm that, because my next step would be then to prepare a letter to City Council proposing this with that weekend date, and the fact that it has been an action of the Tree and Beautification Commission, and ask for their support and acclamation of that particular weekend.
The only other thing I think we could add to the PR is tying it to the original beautification. Not that we're creating something new, it's that we're reviving something that was existing in the city for many years.
Yeah. And we can include that in the letter that we send to City Council, so that gets included in the beginning, that it's a reinstitution of something that took place, and that was a part of the small town camaraderie of Vero Beach, and we're trying to help reestablish and re-encourage that kind of activity.
I had one question based on the minutes that I read. I think it was you, Chris, who said you didn't want to give the people specifics of what they should do. But I do think that it would be helpful, at least, to give examples.
Yeah, and
just to give somebody a flavor of what we're really talking about.
I agree, and I think what the minutes sort of referred to was shaking our finger at people.
Oh yes, no.
We don't want to go out and find instances
this
are wrong, but we could say
this isn't a judgmental thing at all.
Exactly, you could say you could mow your yard, you could plant some flowers, put some mulch in,
remove
pick up the palm fronds,
exactly.
get the junk car out of the front yard, that kind of stuff.
Right. It's just that I think that when you give this opportunity for a weekend work, if you give them an idea of what we're really talking about, it might be helpful.
Agree.
With a catch-all that says anything
and
that
anything
helps,
else you want to
that beautifies your property.
Right.
Because that might include painting the front door.
Yeah,
course,
it could be
of
anything.
course.
Or painting the fence. Or,
Anything
Yeah.
that makes their property look better,
Yeah.
Right.
as long as it doesn't require.
and of course, hopefully the junk car has been taken care of by code enforcement.
Well,
Right?
I'll ask them.
Well, they do that, right?
They do.
Yes. Yes. And the grass that's taller than 12 inches.
Correct.
Okay. Well, I think we've got some ideas and a place to start, so the chair would appreciate a motion to codify that,
I
please.
so move.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
There's a second.
There's a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you. The motion passes. Rita, maybe you and I maybe you can come up with a starting letter and email it and give me an opportunity to look at it. Maybe I can add a few things to make a request of City Council to formalize this approach.
Sure, and did we agree on the second Saturday?
Weekend.
Second
weekend
Second
in February.
weekend. Yeah, because we're talking about making it the beautification weekend.
Okay.
Okay. Any other items relating to that?
No.
We've got some time, as you've mentioned, to try and put some things together. I'm sure I can get on Marcia's radio and TV show and do some announcements ahead of time once we kind of flesh this out a little more. Maybe have Chris join me so I can try and embarrass him on the air. And no, I'm just kidding.
That's okay. I used to have a TV show.
Did it have ratings?
Yeah. Poor.
Good man. Okay. Anything else under old business? Yes, ma'am.
Can I give an update on the grant?
Sure.
The grant that you all did a contribution to,
Right. Yes, the one.
as well as the tree replacement account.
Yeah.
It actually hasn't debited and credited yet, but it's in the works. We have all the trees planted. They've been planted for a while.
You might just, for any
20
viewing audience, just kind of update them
the
as to
20th
location.
Avenue Linear
Right.
Park. We planted a variety of oaks that are different than the live oaks, red and shumard, and some other natives, fringe tree, which is something that I've never used before, and it just started leafing out like last week. They've been in for that long, and they just started leafing out, so they're a really strange kind of plant. Tipuana, and which is a yellow flowering tree, and some white geiger, the cordia. Palms, we did 20 sable palms, and then we underplanted them, which was part of our in-kind, with sable palmettos, saw palmetto, and zamia, which are both native, and mulched those. And the only thing we have left to do is install benches for seating in that area so that you can come over there and sit down and be in the shade and, look at nature. And we have all of our packet ready to be sent off for reimbursement. So we're at the very final stages.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that when you finalize it and it is complete, that you try to get some coverage from the local media of a completed project to help introduce it to the public.
Part of the package is a thank you letter to the legislators and a press release. So there will be a press release included in that gets sent out. And of course, we have a lot of pictures. Certainly, if we need to do something in addition to that, we can. But that's part of the requirements.
Again, it's trying to create awareness, and again, it's kind of an introduction, if you will, almost to the beautification weekend, isn't it? Here's a project where the city has tried to take an area that could use some improvement, and we've used both state money and local money from our tree funds
Right.
to accomplish that, which is part of what our task is.
So there's your highlighted project right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And then I was even approached by one of the garden club circles, and I don't remember if they identified which circle it was, but they wanted to do some additional native planting
great.
out there. So I told them wait till we're all done, and then we can see where we need to where we have the opportunity to plant more. So there'll probably be more understory stuff going in as well that they will.
But you'll
fund.
be coordinating that relative to appropriateness and
Absolutely, as usual. Yes.
yeah, and
Absolutely.
because you're the one responsible for maintenance.
Correct. Yeah.
That's another big aspect for you,
Yeah.
and it does have irrigation, right?
No. We send a water truck out 3 times a week.
Oh, do you?
There's no irrigation out there. So, but when you're planting natives, once you get them established, they're fine with
Yeah, I'm
rain.
thinking more about
unless
the
you have a
trees
really
when it
bad
when
drought.
it starts getting dry.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
what we have the water truck for.
Okay, good.
But
Yeah.
the photos of that might be something to take onto Marcia's
Uh-huh.
program.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because, again, the pictures
Yes.
are
1,000
better than
words.
the words.
Yeah.
1,000 words.
Yeah.
But
Great.
everything leafed out. The oaks leafed out really, really quick. They were glad to get out of their pots. And it was funny as we were just putting them in the ground, the birds were going to them. Oh, look, a new tree! So that was really neat. And they're still out there, and there's lots of squirrels, and then there's ducks in there. So it's neat. Once the benches come in, to sit there and just kind of watch all the wildlife.
Well, and you got lucky because you had some good rain
Right.
activity too.
Yeah. Rain always helps.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think. Gosh, I think we planted everything in March. They've been in for a while.
Oh,
because
I see.
I
didn't-
had to wait for a 60-day growing period before I could call for the forester to
Come inspect.
inspect it. And I actually waited a little bit longer because I was waiting for the fringe trees to leaf out. So April was 90 days. So yeah, they've been in for a while now.
Oh.
And everything is successful. And he gave the project an excellent rating, so that was good. Yeah.
Good. Well, congratulations.
And as a footnote, because that just reminded me, the forester that came to do this project for me, he's out of Sebring. And he wanted to, because he's new to the area and has kind of a broad range of responsibilities, wanted to come into various tree commissions that cities have that he's responsible for, or part of his area, and just introduce himself. So he wanted to know if he would be able to come to your next meeting.
Of course.
That's what I thought.
We'll have an audience.
That there'll be an audience.
We can introduce him.
I will get Rita his name and contact information. And
Thank you.
Of course, he'll have to sit behind the front table there because then he'll be audience.
yes.
Excuse me. Okay, well, good. Thank you for that update. Is there? Let me ask again because it brings out all this interesting material. Anything else under old business? Anything else we haven't discussed that's been under work?
I was wondering how the baskets are doing.
The baskets are still doing okay, but like Chris was saying, the alyssum is it's on its way out.
It's on its way out.
Yeah, they need, and I don't think you can just take those out. I think they
need to redo the
It's
baskets.
due. It's been so hot, and they're there with that full sun. I mean, they got a lot of months out of them. They were really good. So
If they were trying to get them through the summer, they could simply prune the alyssum out and let the other stuff fill in.
yeah, because I don't know that I saw the other stuff looking haggard. It's just the alyssum, and
It's the
because it's
alyssum.
draped over it, it's quite apparent that it's not blooming anymore. So
Yeah, and some of the flower pots that they had have been replanted. So the
Oh, really?
people who donated, because I would go up and down the
they're
street every
they're
day.
keeping up with refurbishing
it.
all of
Yeah,
the pots.
that's great.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Well, maybe you could just suggest the trimming aspect.
I can.
I didn't say do it. I said,
I can suggest it.
Yeah, I mean, they just may not know.
yeah. Well, it's moving on to another project, and they've got that done. So
Well, and they're in transition because Tammy's not with them anymore.
I know.
So
yes,
Yeah.
there is no director at this point. Is there?
Vicky is acting.
Oh,
Vicky
she's
Gould,
acting?
Yeah.
Okay. And the landscape architect that was involved in the project is, I think, still involved.
Oh, Robin, yes. Sure.
Yeah. So, she's a good focal point. Maybe plant the idea in her mind and let her carry it
I'll call
forward.
Vicky.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
And in that same area of facilities, maintenance from Public Works has been out there this week doing the pressure cleaning on all the pavers in front of
good.
the store. So, in that whole model block area.
And I don't walk that area, so I'm assuming it probably really dresses it up because.
Yeah, I actually haven't seen it either.
Oh, okay.
But I'll stop by on the way back. But yeah, when you pressure clean something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, especially with all the recurring moisture, a lot of that doesn't really get a chance to dry out.
Right.
Then you start getting the black mold
Right.
to make life interesting. Okay, well, great. Look at all that information we brought out just with a couple of questions. Okay, we do not have any items on the agenda under the subheading of new business. Does anyone have any items to bring forward this morning?
No.
Okay. One of the items I'd like to bring up under new business is actual participation, meeting attendance. I don't want to say displeased, but I'm disappointed. We all know what dates these meetings are. We all volunteered to serve on this commission with, I'm assuming, interest based on, our initial thoughts. We have a new member who isn't here. I'm kind of disappointed in that. And I guess maybe the kindest thing, or maybe the most appropriate thing to do, is ask the clerk to maybe send out an email to each of the members that were not here today, stating that during our meeting, we expressed the fact that we missed their non-attendance and would encourage them to, what term could I use here to try and be as PC as possible? To renew their commitment to their service on this commission. How's that?
Very nice.
I agree.
You okay with that?
Yeah, no, I know things come up. I had notified Rita actually that there was a possibility I wouldn't be able to attend the meeting today because of my daughter was scheduled for surgery, which had just come up. But generally, as with any other commitment you make, that kind of goes into your calendar. You're absolutely right. This isn't a great deal of time that we have to put into this in terms of physically being here. Hopefully we're thinking about other things, just as Chris did with this new program or the renewal of the old program. But I agree. If you're going to make the commitment, then you need to show up.
And as you say, most of our meetings are an hour or less, and most people, unless you're scheduled to either do or receive brain surgery, postponing something for an hour probably isn't going to make, or break anyone's schedule or commitments to a schedule.
Exactly.
Anyway, without beating that to death, I just ask that, Rita, we send that out with the idea of trying to remind people that without the full commission here, it's very difficult to put programs together, to have a buy-in from all the members, and to really move forward, which is hopefully what we're trying to do.
Maybe you could also add that you value their input and participation.
I can say we all value their input. Yeah, it's not just me.
No.
I mean,
Well, I mean, that's the whole idea of
Yes.
having a commission is to discuss the
It's the
ideas, to throw
interchange.
them around, to have
Absolutely.
an interaction, and
Yep.
somebody come up with an even better idea.
Yep.
That's the whole
great.
purpose.
Well, I'm happy that you share my concern because it's not reassuring for those who come to not have the rest of the members here to help move forward. So I guess that's enough said. So nothing under the area of new business. Treasury report.
No change.
Oh, that's right. We haven't even spent the money yet relative. Committed it, but not spent it.
That's correct.
Okay, great. Chairman's matters. Really don't have a lot to say. As I drove in this morning, I noticed it was very evident that the county is getting behind in their grass cutting along A1A. The area different, I'm talking about outside the city limits, because the grass along A1A that's not maintained by associations is
I think
really,
that's DOT. That's not county.
Oh, DOT
DOT contractor does those right of ways.
Oh,
on
are
A1A.
they doing that now?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good. Anyway, then they're behind.
You know, if it's Bahia, you can hear it growing.
Oh no, I know. Yeah.
Well,
you
the
can
other
you
thing-
can say the same thing about a lot of my areas too.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, it's
Well, I think that the torrential rains, even if they are sporadic, I mean, it still is going to interrupt your workflow.
well, yeah, and you know, when it's not only rain, it's the lightning, and of course you're not going to have people out there working when it's thundering and lightning. So, you know,
unless they
and-
really want curly hair, yeah.
You don't have portable, movable lightning rods that you can put out to.
No.
Okay. Anything under members' matters?
No.
Just simply, Rita has said, I am now a permanent member. So that's the first I'm hearing it, because I've not received any notice from anyone.
Oh, that's interesting.
Now, Cynthia bumped up ahead of you, so you're still the first alternate now.
She's saying you're the permanent member
Well,
today.
today.
And that's
Still
why
in.
she
For
was.
purposes, I see.
Yes.
For
she
purposes
was.
of voting today.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, because I was a little confused.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So Mo called in also, and he's our new member. He called in and said he couldn't be here.
He
Is
was
that
out of
right?
town.
All right. Next meeting is scheduled for August 21st. And we can put that in our schedules.
Okay, I will possibly be in California. Don't know exactly yet. If I recall, last year we didn't have an August meeting. Is that
Well,
correct?
it's been variable. We normally don't meet the whole summer, but you know, with the poor attendance
It's fine.
and not having a meeting last month, I think we really should have an August meeting, and maybe we won't have a September meeting.
Okay,
You know?
that's fine.
But-
I just in anticipation
Yeah.
that we weren't going to meet
And
in
we have
August,
a-
made plans to go to California, but I haven't made plans to come back,
Well,
so I can try to come back for the meeting.
again, you know, when you're taking a trip that long, you
Well, it's to visit my son in LA.
yeah. No, I meant that far away. That's what I meant. You know, but and then you know it's the December meeting. Many years we
Right.
haven't had a December meeting because unless there was a project that we're working on that we needed that from a planning point of view. Okay, so next meeting is August 21st. If there are no other items to come before us today, the chair would encourage a motion for
I
adjournment.
just have one suggestion. When you send the letter to the city council, your letter, why not include some of the magazines that she has there, which has an article in it about the old beautification
Oh
days?
yeah, sure.
I'm sure that she'd be happy to provide 5-10
Yeah.
copies. Not you, but the editor of the magazine.
Right.
had them in the city.
Yeah, Penny.
Well, they had them sitting there. I've seen city council members.
So we
they even
could
gotten one.
just refer to the article.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, good. And we could always make copies of just the article itself.
Right. I
Yeah.
mean, I just think that
I'm sure she's
Yeah.
got boxes of the magazines.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, good thought.
So moved for an adjournment.
second.
Motion and a second for adjournment, and we thank you for all coming today, and have a wonderful week.